But one of my favorite natural fractals are coastlines, because coastlines are a wonderful example of the farther in you go, the bigger it gets. And coastlines are fractal in nature because of the way you would have to measure a coastline. If you had, for example, an island and you wanted to measure the perimeter around the island, well, the smaller the unit of measurement you use, the bigger a measurement you're actually going to get. Let me explain. If you measure around your island using, let's say, kilometers, you're going to get a number of how many kilometers around it is. But if you measure it using centimeters, you're going to get a much bigger number for your answer, because you're actually going to be measuring more of the island, more minutely, those little details as the coast goes in and out. Whereas if you have kilometers, you're just going to kind of go roughly from point A to B, that kilometer, and then the next kilometer, so you'll miss some of the intricacies of the coastline. But if you measure it with something much smaller like centimeters, you will get a bigger number, a bigger measurement of the island. And the smaller unit of measurement you use to measure something, the bigger it's going to be. In the 20th century, we began to see fractals in mathematics, and we began to actually see the use of the term fractal. Fractals were really sort of discovered and named in the 20th century. And it was a combination of mathematical theory and the advent of computers that really led to the discovery of fractals. But Pierre Fatou and Gaston Julia were early 20th century pioneers. But most of us are familiar with Benoit Mandelbrot and his Mandelbrot set. And he was working at IBM in the 1980s. And he was the one who gave us the very high quality visualizations of the Mandelbrot set. But the set was actually first defined by Robert W. Brooks and Peter Metelsky back in the late 1970s. But Mandelbrot is the one who sort of coined that term fractals, thinking of how these shapes live between our traditional dimensions. They live in the fractions of the dimensions. And the actual Mandelbrot set is a very simple equation that, when repeated in the complex plane, reveals a complex pattern of colored and black shapes. And this is a shape that some have called the thumbprint of God. It is complex, it is self-replicating, and it exhibits an infinitely complex boundary that reveals ever-increasing details the more you dive in and magnify it.